What's up, guys? This your girl Kat and I'm back with another video. Alright, so before I get started, for all of my newcomers, if you're new to my channel, I do want to do a brief introduction. So I am Kat, the one and only Catwoman Media. I do cover a variety of things. Sometimes it'll be reality TV, it could be my daily activities with my family, or it could also be current events. So just wanted to throw that out there if you do like what you see. If you do like and you take to my channel, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button and that like button. Also hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified the very next time I drop another one. Okay? Alright guys, so without further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and get right into it because I know you guys can see who I have right here behind my head, the beautiful Marilyn Monroe. Okay? Alright, so just to get into it. Alright, so Miss Marilyn Monroe, she was not actually born Marilyn Monroe. Her birth name was Norma Jean Mortensen. She was born June the 1st, 1926, and I take to that because my birthday is June the 2nd. So yeah, I know she was a dope chick. Us Geminis, yeah, you get the picture. But no, guys, alright, so she was born June the 1st, 1926. She was known for a famous American actress, right? She was known for playing a blonde bombshell character, okay? She became one of the most popular sex symbols in the 1950s and the early 1960s, and a well-known emblem of the sexual revolution. Her films grossed $200 million, which was equivalent to $2 billion into 2021. By the time of her death in 1962, long after her death, Monroe remains a major icon of pop culture. In 1999, the American Film Institute ranked her 6th on their list of the greatest female screen legend of the golden age of Hollywood. Multiple film critics and media outlets have cited Monroe as one of the best actors never to have received an Academy Award nomination. Did get some fame before she passed away, but I really wish she could have gotten an Academy Award, especially known for being a well-known, beautiful actress. So yeah, guys. Alright, so your girl was born in Los Angeles, California, where she spent most of her childhood years. Now, it's said that she was bouncing between 12 different foster care homes and that she was working in a factory. She ended up getting married at the age of 16, where she met a photographer who used to work for the motion picture unit. He actually helped and put her up on game to become a pinup model. Now, as she was doing her pinup modeling career, she started to try to move into the movie industry, right? But there was a rumor that surfaced, basically stating that she had posed nude for photography and earlier on. So anyway, the person who put that out there, I guess they thought that it was going to hurt her career. Well, guess what? It actually helped her career. So instead of it declining her, it boosted her in the movie industry, guys. So kudos to the person who put that rumor out. In 1945, Monroe had signed with Blue Book Model Agency, but although the agency deemed her as her figure being more pinup model than high fashion, she still continued to push forward and did not let that stop her. So what she did was she ended up straightening her hair and she dyed her hair blonde. And according to Emmeline Snively, which was the agency's owner, Monroe quickly became one of its most ambitious and hard-working models by early 1946. By 1953, Monroe was one of the most marketable Hollywood stars. She had leading roles in the film noir Niagara, which overtly relied on her sex appeal, and the comedies Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and How to Marry a Millionaire, which established her star image as a dumb blonde. The same year, her nude images were used as the centerfold and on the cover of the first issue of Playboy. She played a significant role in the creation and management of her public image throughout her career. But she was disappointed when she was typecast and underpaid by the studio. She was briefly suspended in early 1954 for refusing a film project, but returned to star in The 7-Year Itch in 1955. that was one of her biggest box office hits of her career. Alright guys, so this picture right here, this was a picture of Marilyn Monroe when she was a baby. Take a look at that, y'all. That picture is just adorable, and you can tell this is her extremely by the eyes. The eyes are given, it's given. But yeah, so she was so adorable, but it just saddens me to know all of what she went through growing up. It was said that her mom, Gladys, was mentally and financially unprepared for a child. And in her early childhood, she was stable and happy. But when her mom placed her with foster parents, it kind of took a toll on her. She also lived there for 6 months, and she was forced to move back to the city for employment. She then began visiting her daughter on weekends while she was in the foster care in the summer of 1933. Gladys bought a small house in Hollywood with a loan from the Homeowners Loan Corporation and moved her 7-year-old daughter Monroe in with her. In 1934, Gladys had a mental breakdown and she was diagnosed paranoid schizophrenia. After several months in the rest home, she was committed to state hospital. She spent the rest of her life in and out of hospitals and was rarely in contact with Monroe. So guys, you know, Marilyn Monroe actually had to become a ward of the state after this happened to her mom, and her mom's friend Grace Goddard took responsibility over her and her mother's affairs. So she did have someone over her, but who's to say that that was the best, you know, choice. More on Monroe's childhood. Monroe's childhood experiences basically made her want to become an actress. She had a quote where it said, "I didn't like the world around me. It was kind of grim." So basically, when she started going to the movies, some of her foster parents sent her to the movies sometimes. And when she started going and she realized that that was acting, she said to herself, "This is what I want to do." And so she would go to the movies. They would send her to the movies sometimes just to let her get out of the house. And she would sit there on the front row looking at that big screen and just say to herself, "This is what I want to be." And so she saw it, she believed it truly deeply in her heart, and she received it. All right, guys, so this picture right here, this was Marilyn Monroe's very first husband. This was the guy who she married when she was 16 years old. His name was James Doherty. You can tell she had some issues being a young child and just, you know, not having a normal childhood with getting married that young. But then again, I think, you know, back in those days, it was pretty normal for people to get married at that age because they fell in love really quick for some odd reason. I don't know why, but it just seems like that. When the studio was still reluctant to change Monroe's contract, she founded her own film production in 1954. So it was stated that she spent the whole 1955 building her company and studying the method of acting under Lee Strasberg. Later that year, she was awarded a new contract from Fox, and it basically gave her more control and a larger salary. And by that time, she had appeared on 33 magazine covers and publications, such as The Pageant, US, Camera, Laugh and Peak. And as a model, Monroe occasionally used the pseudonym Jean Norman. In 1946, Monroe divorced Doherty, who opposed her modeling career. Monroe spent her first 6 months at Fox learning acting, singing, and dancing and observing the filmmaking process. Also enrolled her in the Actors Laboratory Theater and acting school, teaching her the techniques of the group theater. Despite her enthusiasm, her teachers thought she was still too shy and still just too insecure to have a bright future in the movie industry. So they did not renew her contract in 1947. Right, so Monroe was determined to make it as an actress. She also screen tested for the lead role in Born Yesterday, which was in 1950, but her contract was not renewed in September of 1948. Ladies of the Chorus was released the following month, and it was not a success. When her contract at Columbia ended, Monroe returned to modeling again. She shot a commercial for Pabst Beer and posed for artistic nude photographs by Tom Kelly. Those were for calendars using the name Mona Monroe. Monroe had previously posed topless. Shortly after leaving Columbia, she also met and became the protege and mistress of Johnny Hyde. He was the vice president of the William Morris Agency. Through Hyde, Monroe landed small roles in several films, including 2 critically acclaimed works. One was named All About Eve, the other one was named Asphalt Jungle. Both of those were in 1950. Despite her screen time being only a few minutes in the photoplay, and according to biographer Donald Spoto, moved effectively from movie model to serious actress. In December of 1950, Hyde negotiated a 7-year contract for Monroe with the 20th Century Fox. According to its terms, Fox could opt to not renew the contract. Hyde died of a heart attack only days later, which left Monroe devastated. In 1951, Monroe started getting a lot more supporting roles, and they were successful roles. One was in As Young as You Feel, Love Nest, and Let's Make It Legal. According to Spoto, all 3 films viewed her as a sexy ornament, but she did also get some praise from some New York Times critics, and one labeled her as superb, and then one labeled her as the brightest and upcoming actress of Love Nest. So guys, by now her popularity with the audiences was growing, and she started to receive several fan letters from all over. She was also declared Miss Cheesecake in 1951 by the Army newspapers. In 1952, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association named Monroe the best young box office personality. She began a highly publicized romance with the retired New York Yankees baseball star Joe DiMaggio. He was one of the most famous sports personalities of that era. By March of 1952, Monroe found herself at the center of a scandal, included her posing nude for a calendar in 1949. The studio had learned about the photos and that she was publicly rumored to be a model some weeks prior. So Monroe basically decided to go ahead and come forward with this information so that it wouldn't damage her career. Just explained everything and basically gained sympathy from the audience and just let them know that she was broke at that time. So she kind of had to do what she had to do. Later on, Monroe ended up being featured on the cover of Life magazine as the talk of Hollywood, and gossip columnist Hedda Hopper declared her the Cheesecake Queen. Despite her newfound popularity as a sex symbol, Monroe also wished to showcase more of her acting range. She had begun taking acting classes with Michael Chekhov and Mime Lott, and Clash by Night and Don't Bother to Knock showed her in different roles. To prepare, she had spent time in Fish Canary in Monterey. She received positive reviews for her performance. The Hollywood Reporter stated that she deserves starring status. She has an ease of delivery, which makes her a cinch for popularity. The latter was a thriller in which Monroe starred as a mentally disturbed babysitter, in which Zenith used to test her abilities in a heavier dramatic role. It received mixed reviews from critics. Monroe stated that she was tired of the same old sex roles and asserted that she was no longer under contract to Fox. It had not fulfilled its duties, such as paying her the promised bonus. This began a year-long legal battle between her and Fox in January 1955. The press largely ridiculed Monroe. Monroe also started undergoing psychoanalysis, as Strasberg believed that an actor must confront their emotional traumas and use them in their performances. So she was actually using this as a tactic to bring out her inner self to be better on stage. Monroe continued her relationship despite the ongoing divorce process. She also dated actor Marlon Brando and playwright Arthur Miller. She had first been introduced to Miller by Elia Kazan in the early 1950s. The affair between Monroe and Miller became increasingly serious after October 1955, and that was when her divorce was finally finalized. Miller separated from his wife, and they got really serious now. The studio did not want her to continue that relationship with Miller because they stated that he was being investigated by the FBI for allegations of communism and had been subpoenaed and, waiting on a court date. But Monroe refused. She continued to see Miller regardless of what the studio said. So that also brought another feud. They were really highly upset. By the end of the year, Monroe and Fox signed a new 7-year contract, and the studio was eager to have Monroe working for them again. Fox would pay her $400,000 to make 4 films and granted her the right to choose her own projects, directors, and cinematographers. Before that all got started, Monroe did take an 18-month vacation to concentrate on her family life. She and Miller split their time between New York City and Connecticut and Long Island. She had an ectopic pregnancy in mid-1957 and then miscarried a year later. These problems were most likely linked to her endometriosis. Monroe was also briefly hospitalized due to a barbiturate overdose, as she and Green could not settle their disagreements over MMP. Monroe bought his share of the company. Monroe demanded dozens of retakes and did not remember her lines or act as directed. Curtis famously said that kissing her was like kissing Hitler due to the number of retakes. That's sad. During her final moments, Monroe lived at Helena Drive in Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. Her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, was staying overnight at the home that evening. On August the 4th, 1962, Murray woke up around 3 a.m. and she just, felt like something was off. It just didn't seem right. So she saw a light under Monroe's bedroom door, but she was unable to get her to open the door, nor did she get a response. So immediately she called Monroe's psychiatrist, Ralph Greenson, who arrived at the house shortly after. He was unable to get in also, so then he broke into a bedroom window, all to find Monroe dead on her bed. Now, Monroe's physician, Hyman Ingenberg, arrived around 3:50 a.m. and he pronounced her dead at 4:25 a.m. So it's safe to say that before they had even got in the room and the door, that Monroe was already dead. And it says that she was probably dead between the hours of 8:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. on August the 4th, 1962. The toxicology report showed that the cause of death was acute barbiturate poisoning, which basically saying that she had 8 milligrams per 100 milliliters of solution in her blood. Now, they also found 13 milligrams of that in her liver as well, and they found empty medicine bottles next to her bed. So basically, just based off of all of the evidence that they were able to see in the room, was ruled as a possible overdose suicide. The limits were definitely lethal that was in her body. So let me know what you guys think about Miss Marilyn Monroe. Were you guys a fan of hers? Did you ever watch any of her movies? I know I was not born during that time, but as I got older and got more familiar with Miss Marilyn Monroe and knowing what she did, it's a sad life, but at least she did accomplish some type of success in her life. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Please do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified for more stories. All right, guys, stay blessed. Have a wonderful day. Peace.